Sorry, I made a mistake. I forgot to switch on the mic. I guess I'm audible now. Fine. So, what I was saying that we started with the software architecture and we saw some basic definitions and some uh, rough idea about all these topics, and soon we'll go into much more depth, and then we were talking about software architecture, where basically it is referring to the fundamental structure of a software system. And the software architecture of a program, or it can be a computing system, is a depiction of the system that aids in the understanding of how the system is going to behave. So it's like making some fundamental structural choices that would let us know that how it is going to behave. And this will be serving as a blueprint for both the system and the project developing it. Defining the work assignments that must be carried out by the design and the implementation team, right? We started with feasibility study, we went to designs, we went to coding, right? So just before the designs, we'll come up with the software architecture. We'll see how this thing is incorporated in your software development life cycle. So what we do is with the help of this architecture, we get to know the structure of the system, and we're not going into the implementation details, right? How this is going to be implemented, that would be the next step. Further at the lower level design documents, and then coding. Coding will be like the exact implementation. And what we do is we realize the use case scenarios, and then we come up with some diagrams which are called as your software architecture. And this architecture is going to serve both the purposes. That means dealing with the functional requirements and dealing with the non-functional or the quality requirements as well. So your architecture is basically the primary carrier of system qualities such as your performance, your modifiability, your security, and none of which can be achieved without unifying the architectural vision. So basically, architecture is an artifact for your early analysis to make sure that a design approach will yield an acceptable system, right? So what we do is we have the documents, documents. What we do is, let's say we have the SRS, right? From here, I'm going to come up with the documents which will be having the architecture. Then we'll go for detailed design. Then we'll go for coding and other steps. Right. So basically, what we do is that we come up with some software architectures to get some rough idea about the system which we are going to come up with. Now let's see some basic definitions, right? So this is a definition given in your Bas, Clemens and Kazman, your book, which we have also added in our CIF, which is like software architecture in practice. And it says that the software architecture of a program or a computing system is the structure or the structures of the system which comprises software elements, the externally visible properties of those elements and the relationship among them. Right, so it will be like it will be combination of those elements and some relation between these elements. So basically, it is nothing but the depiction of the system that would aid in understanding how the system is going to behave. Then, basically, your architecture is about what is visible externally. And I am not going to go into the internals. The implementation details of a component are not the architecture. How it is going to implement, that is not my concern. So we can help the developers to get some basic idea with this blueprint by coming up with some clear-cut software architecture. So what we have is, let's say I have a business mission. So what I'll do is I'll come up with an architecture. And the implementation will yield a system. And we can confirm this system from the architecture. And this architecture is going to satisfy me for the vision and the mission. So not only the architecture, later on, this entire system is going to satisfy me because it will be analogous to whatever I have in coming up with this particular business mission. So obviously this is going to be implemented and it will evolve. That's how your architecture will be playing the role. Now later on, if you carefully see, there is a minor change in this definition. Here we took the second edition. In the third edition, the Bas, Clemens and Kasman modified the basic definition of software architecture. So what they say is that now the software architecture of a system is the set of structures needed to reason about the system. Structures needed to it's repeated, which comprises of the software elements, your relations among them, and properties of both. So we brought a minor change and we added some extra features to our software architecture. So this is another definition from ISO IEC 42010. It's the quality standard. It says your fundamental concepts or properties of a system in its environment, embodied in its elements, relationships, and in the principles of its design and evolution. Right. So what we do is that in case of your software architecture, we have like a series of proven methods and practices that can help organizations use this software architecture to build and evolve the system that would satisfy the business and the mission goals. It's like capturing the architecturally significant requirements first, then you design that particular architecture, and that can be, your attribute driven design. And once it is done, we are going to evaluate the architecture. Because see, I cannot simply rely on that architecture we have come up with is fully fine. Right? I need to evaluate it, and that can be done by architectural trade-off analysis method, right? That's called as ATAM. This stands for architecture trade-off analysis method. And once we have done the evaluation part, we go for documenting the architecture. And that is basically done with the help of AADL, right? You might be familiar with this particular term, which is your architecture analysis and design language. You might be familiar with this particular term as well. Now, once we have documented it, that means it has been formally either approved or rejected. So, by evaluating the software architecture, we get to know that, okay, whether it is inclined towards a risky outcome or it is able to achieve the target system qualities. For that sake, I need to have the documentation. Right. For that sake, I need to have the documentation. That's why for anything and everything, your documentation is something which is very crucial. Now, let's see some more details about your software architecture. One thing is definitely your architecture is going to define the structure. And your architecture defines the behavior as well. Right, that's what we were talking about, that your architecture defines your behavior as well. And it will be focusing on some significant elements, right? Significant elements means something which are more crucial. And once again, as I said, it's like dealing with the external visible part, not the internal. I don't have to get the details about the implementation part. So an architecture balances your stakeholders' need as well. And your architecture embodies decisions based on certain rationale. And your architecture may conform to a particular architectural style. Further, let's add some more points. Your architecture is influenced by its environment. Right, so it's influenced by its environment. The architecture is going to influence the team structure as well. Right. So once we get the architecture, what we see is that we have a particular, let's say, product P. It has a certain architectural style A1, Now that would influence the team structure, means a particular architectural style may focus a lot on certain aspects for which only certain people will be required. In that case, definitely my team structure is going to change. It will not be the traditional team structure, it is going to be a new one. Next is your architecture is present in every system. Of course, in any and every possible system, there will be one or other architecture. What kind of structure that would be, that we'll get the idea in the upcoming slides. And then your architecture has a particular scope as well. There will definitely be a particular scope. And one more thing I would like to add is, just like your code, it can be reusable. Your software architecture can also be reused. Your software architecture can also be reused. Now let's talk about the role of an architect, right? So in case of your day-to-day dealing with, let's say we are talking about a building, and if I'm talking about the architecture, it would be something which is your appearance or the behavior. That is nothing but a blueprint that would be given by the architect, and it would be given to both. It would be given to the developer, that is those who are going, the civil engineer, the ones who are going to come up with this particular architecture, and it will also be passed on to the clients. That means for whom this particular thing has been developed. So what this architect will be doing will be creating a particular architectural design that would be based on the requirements which is coming from your client or the end user. And the client will be assessing the appearance or the behavior that would be just because of this architectural design, which visualizes the appearance or the behavior. And the same thing will prescribe the construction and the cooperation process as well. So on this side, appearance will be assessed by the client, construction and cooperation will be assessed by the civil engineer, who is going to assess this particular thing, right? So assessment is obviously done at both the ends for both these parties, but on one side, client may not be technically sound, so we'll be looking for the actual appearance or the behavior. The developer, who is civil engineer or maybe a coder in this particular case, that would look for the construction and cooperation. That would he also give you the feasibility that okay, this can be a feasible solution or not. And yes, this architectural design will also serve as a solution for this particular developer as well. Right, so that's how the role of architect is very crucial in this particular software development, or maybe in any kind of development. We take help from the software or the sorry, or the architect. So basically, your software architect will be providing some solution that would be helpful for the technical team and your design team for the entire application. And this software architect will be expert will be a design expert, will be a domain expert, and will be a technology expert as well. In addition to this, what we seek is that your architect should be methodological expert. All right, these are some of the expertise which we expect from a software architect. Design expert, why? Because he or she needs to be expert in software design. That includes your diverse methods and approaches, such as your object oriented analysis and design, so OOD, or maybe it can be event driven design. Your architect should lead the development team and coordinate the development efforts for the integrity of the design as well. And he or she should be able to review the design proposal and the trade-offs among themselves. When we talk about the domain expertise, right, so your architect should be expert on the system being developed and the plan for software evaluation as well. It is also expected that your software architect should assist in the requirement investigation process, should also assist in assuring the completeness, and should also assist in assuring the consistency part as well. Your architect should coordinate the definition of domain model for the system being developed. And as far as your technology expertise is concerned, so it is expected that your software architect should be expert on the available technologies that can help in the implementation of the system. And it is desirable that the architect can, or architect should coordinate the selection of your programming language, selection of your framework, platforms, your databases, and so on and so forth. And when it comes to the methodological expertise, uh, the architect should be expert on software development methodologies, and that may be adopted during your software development lifecycle. And he or she should choose the appropriate approaches for development that can help the entire team as well. There are some hidden roles of software architect, so where he or she can be your information specialist who can share the knowledge, and if suppose she or she has a vast experience, then it's always desirable. The architect can facilitate the technical work among the team members and can reinforce the trust relationship in the team, and can protect the team members from external forces that would distract them and bring less value to the project. Then we expect certain deliverables from the software architect, right? So what we expect is a clear, complete, consistent, and achievable set of functional goals. The functional description of the system with at least 2 layers of decomposition, or maybe in some cases it can be 3 layers, till 3 layers. And a concept should be given for the entire system, and a design in the form of the system with at least 2 layers, and a notion of the timing, your operator attributes, your implementations, your plans, and We can also expect a document or process which ensures the functional decomposition is followed or not. So these are like some expectations from a software architect. Now, this is something which is called as your pre-architectural life cycle, right? Sorry, I missed one question. So, sir, can you give an analogy using an example project? Yeah, sure, Stephen. Definitely. I'll be. I have some set of examples in my wallet to cover in this particular course. Now, this is something which is your pre-architectural life cycle. So, what it is basically we have the software development process, and it is like before the architecture was not included, right? So this basically this was not the part of your software engineering, to be very specific, right? But it was found, see, in case of your software engineering, many things are we have opted many things from your traditional engineering. In fact, this entire software development lifecycle came up with the traditional concept, and so this is basically your pre-architectural life cycle, where I don't have the architecture even included in my cycle, which is there. That means the overall software development life cycle, right? So what we have here is it's like I have certain stakeholders with me, and on the other side, what we have is we have the requirement, and the requirement churning is taking place. That means, you know, uh, refinement of the requirements is taking place. And how it is being refined, because what we have is we have certain requirements, we are bringing certain changes to it. Then what we have is we have something called as your quality, which is added separately. So then we reach to an agreement. So this agreement will be between the clients and the team of developers, means from whom you are expecting a product. So once it is done and both the parties reach to an agreement, then the development starts. Now, looking at this particular pre-architectural life cycle, and I am sure you have already covered your software development life cycle, a generic one, plus all the software development life cycle models as well. So, what all problems you can observe in this pre-architectural life cycle? So I need answers from you people. Some issues associated with this. Some issues associated with this.
Sir, there is no visualization here.
Right. So quality not discussed. They with customers, no visual representation. Ashish now, no user involvement. Yeah, right. Very correct. So I could get, yeah, lack of prototype. Yes, Shashwat, very correct. So what we see is that first of all, the user's involvement is not there. So you got an idea that okay, there is some serious issue with this uh, kind of structure. On the other hand, what we have is that we are missing something which is called as architecture, or I should say software architecture to be very specific. So we are missing this particular part, right? We are missing this particular thing. So now let's include your architecture in this particular. So what we have is we are adding the architecture in the simplest possible manner. Right, in this particular thing, we are adding the software architecture in the most simplest manner. So what we have done here is this thing remains the same. Stakeholders are included. We have requirements. We went for an agreement. Now, once we started the development, we said that, okay, in this particular phase, let's add architecture, let's add detailed design, and let's add implementation. Right. So, still some issues. The reason being, after coming up with this architecture, I may come across a situation where I might find some serious issues associated with this particular architecture, and I may reach to a point where as a developer I may declare that no, the kind of solution you are looking for is not feasible in this particular budget based on this particular architecture. And if suppose I'm bringing some changes to the architecture and then further to the detailed design, that would result into, see, it's like previously it was like two-layered architecture. Then we identified that, okay, the client was asking for several layers of security. Client was expecting a much more secured software application. And based on this particular architecture, I'm not able to provide it. So I need to have a three-layer architecture for this. The cost may go up by 20%. But the problem is that we have already signed the agreement. That would be for, let's say, a cost X. Now the cost has gone up by 20%, which is not feasible. So that this is going to create a lot amount of issues. Although we have added the architecture in the most simplest manner, but there are issues. Right, from this particular example, you might have got some idea that, okay, problem exists. We try to resolve the problem by adding the architecture, but still there are serious issues. So how to bring further changes so that I can address this particular part as well? So what I've done is I have added the architecture in the life cycle. So I have the stakeholders, I have the requirements, I have the quality. I have added both these things. I came up with the architecture. Let's show this blueprint to all the stakeholders and get their consent. Right, obviously, see, in this particular process also some amount of time was consumed. So definitely there will be certain charges, right? It's somewhat similar to, like, if suppose you are buying something, so what you do is you get some sample items, right? That kind of thing is, and it depends on what kind of agreement you will do. That would be like for coming up with this architecture, you will definitely going to charge the clients. Right. So in this case, I can keep on refining the architecture, I can keep on refining the overall budgeting. I can keep on giving a blueprint to the stakeholder. So it's similar, like if suppose you get in touch with an architect to come up with a blueprint of, let's say, uh, plot, and you need to have a two-story building. So this architect gives you, a layout that, okay, here it would be a door. This is how the kitchen will be. So you say that, okay, I see that, okay, uh, this dining area is too small. So he'll say that, okay, let me bring some another architecture. So what I'll do is I'll increase this particular dining area to this size, and this will be a separate room, and so on and so forth. So once this is freezed, then we start the development. So here also, once it is freezed, we went for an agreement, we have started the development. I haven't added the successive stages, right? That would be your overall development, coding, testing, and other stuff. So definitely this has resulted into adding some extra efforts to our life cycle, but definitely it has brought more safety measures to the developers, and obviously to the end users as well, because there are chances that end user may not get satisfied with what we are developing, and there will be definitely a compromise kind of thing happening. So that if suppose we are able to avoid this particular compromise, and we are able to provide whatever the client has asked for, that's something which is the best practice which we can have. That's why we have included this particular architecture in our life cycle. So any doubts up till now? Any doubts up till now? Fine. So today I see good number of students are active. Probably, see, if I'm not wrong, I have covered a subset of these topics in our software engineering classes as well. I mean, I haven't gone into much details, but I have covered, uh, a portion of it in our software engineering classes. So this is something which is, you know, letting you the importance of software architecture. So what we have here is that let's understand the system, because I'll be able to handle the complexity now. I am in a position to understand how the system was going to look like. In that case, definitely I'll be in a position to claim that, okay, I'll handle certain complexities if these complexities are going to arise. Because see, I'll get a microscopic system structure, right? I'll be able to see the important stuff which is there in the system. So I'll get some basic fundamental understanding of this particular system. I'll be able to, get some design decisions taken at a very early stage of life cycle. So it's like overall it will be beneficial for us only. Now this is going to help me in organizing the overall development process, because see, this software architecture is also well documented. So I'll definitely be in a position to organize the overall development process. I'll be able to take some early design decisions, right? So it's like design reasoning, why a particular design, and decision making. So there can be certain constraints on the implementation part, that okay, there are some constraints, so I may not be able to come up with this in time. I may not be able to even come up with this particular module. So in that case, there will be certain constraints on implementation. So I'll take some early design decisions. So it dictates the organizational structure. As I said, your architecture may bring certain changes, right? We have discussed previously that this is going to influence my team structure, right? That's how this is going to help us in the overall development. So this inhibits or enable the quality attributes as well. And obviously it's something which is transferable. It is something which is a reusable model. So we also had a discussion on the reusability of your software architecture, right? So your software architecture, just like your software code, right? Code has a code reusability, architecture has a reusability as well. So from where this thing started, right? From where, if you talk about history of software architecture, so this term was coined in somewhere in the year 1969 by IP Sharp at NATO Software Engineering Conference. So NATO conference has given several things, right? So what happened was that a comparison of software design and civil architecture was done in somewhere in the late 90s, and then in this particular NATO conference, this thing was uh, given. And some people say that this is a software architecture is a concept which has its origin in the research of Dijkstra in 1968. And these people emphasized on the structure of a software system, and getting the structure right is something which is critical as per these people, right? So I have like IP Sharp and I have like Dijkstra as well. So what it says is, I think we have something in addition to the software engineering. So this is subject of software architecture, and architecture is different from engineering. So later on, in University of California, Irvine campus, then SEI, CMU, these university campuses focused a lot in your software architecture. They gave, somewhere in the year 1995, 96 also, a lot amount of changes took place. Lot many things came in picture. As far as your software architecture is concerned, people started focusing on your architectural analysis, architectural synthesis, and architectural evaluation plus architecture evolution. So these things, people started paying good amount of focus. I still remember I attending a conference in somewhere in the year 2011, where agile wasn't taking speed, and then later on it became very popular. So these things are something which are very recent ones. So there are some other points of view as far as your software architecture is concerned. So this is something which is high level design, right? So detailed design will be called as your lower level design. Your software architecture is called as a high level design. Then your architecture is the overall structure of the system. That's what we have already talked about. So I am not going to give more time on this particular point. And architecture is a structure including the principles and guidelines governing their design and evolution over time. Then architecture is like components and the connectors. So definitely there will be certain components, and these components will be connected with the help of some connectors, some possible connectors that we'll see in the coming slides. Now let's we said that okay, this is something which is related to quality, right? So let's talk about software architecture and quality. So the notion of quality is central in software architecting. So main purpose is to come up with a quality application. So a software architecture is devised to gain insight in the qualities of the system at the earliest possible stage. From the blueprint, we get an idea, just like in your civil architecture. From the blueprint, we get an idea that, okay, how spacious my room is going to be, whether it will have the scope of sunlight entering into the room, whether it will have a crosswind kind of ventilation. So all these things we get from the blueprint, right? So all the qualities of the system are given at the earliest possible stage with the help of your software architecture. Now, some qualities are observable via execution, that is like performance, how speedy it is, security, availability, functionality, and usability. These things are like something which are post execution, right? So, at the initial level, we get some rough idea, but you can observe it and you can measure it via execution only. And some are not observable via execution as well. For example, your modifiability, portability, reusability, integrity, and testability. So these things are afterwards. Now next is your software architecture. So what we have is these are some set of architecture. We have like solution architecture, we have logical architecture, we have technology architecture, we have information architecture, we have platform architecture, we have technical architecture, then we have like system architecture, we have code architecture, we have deployment architecture, we have enterprise architecture, we have application architecture, we have conceptual architecture. So we'll study some of these things. Before this, what do you mean by enterprise level software? What do you mean by enterprise level software? Any clue?
When software is being built for a very large organization, like they build it in isolated environments.
Right, very correct, very correct. So your enterprise software or the enterprise level software is basically used to cater to the needs of an organization rather than your individual users. So these organizations, like we have our university, your MIS can be called as enterprise level architecture, and your enterprise level softwares will be handling several operations, right? Not a single operation, but multiple or several operations in an organization. So it's like I can have an application that where if suppose I have library management is a part of, you can say, if library management is integrated to the account section where you, let's say Ramit, your fines are submitted to the library management application, and that is reflected in the account section that, okay, for a particular user, this is the fine or there isn't any fine. That can be called as an enterprise level. A single alone library management can be called as a learning management application, right? LMS, or maybe library management system, but not the enterprise level. So enterprise will be like combining several. If I have inventory, hostel, people management, library management, payroll management integrated, and I have a single solution for all these 5 facilities, then it will be your enterprise level application, right? Then it will be your enterprise level application. So okay, so this is the solution architecture. So this part we'll start from the next class, and let's now take the questions which you have in next few minutes. We'll start the solution architecture from the next class, but for today let's take some questions. Let's have a small question answer session.